Before you get to Coromandel town, roadside signs advertise fishing tackle and boating supplies, and local cafes boast of fresh fish, oysters, mussels and scallops. Residents dotted along the coast have long had a close connection to the sea and its traditional bounty, but Wakame Fresh are harvesting something else: seaweed.
This is the Undaria. It's relatively small in this location, but it does grow to 1.5 metres, that sort of length. This is the reproductive part up here, the sporophyll, which can be used for food and nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals. We then have the midrib, which is usable in food as well. But of course, at the moment we're working with the stem for the Japanese consumers.
That's Lucas Evans. Alongside Lance Townsend, the pair began looking into harvesting Undaria, also known as Wakame or the gorse of the sea, 7 years ago. Undaria is a pest and is now widespread across the eastern and southern coastlines of New Zealand after coming from Asia on board cargo ships in the 1980s. After jumping on the boat just outside of Coromandel town, it's not long before the pair pull up alongside lines of buoys and laden ropes are winched from the sea.
These are mussel lines, and this is an invasive species that was introduced into New Zealand waters. It's taken over policy up until I believe it was 2010. Meant that it wasn't able to be accessed, but of course changes have made it commercially viable viable to explore anyway.
Wakame Fresh has partnered with the local mussel industry, who traditionally have just cut away the seaweed as bycatch. Lucas Evans wants to harness that waste, and while the New Zealand market may be small, it's in hot demand in Japan, where it's a staple in things like salads or miso soup. On board today is the president of Japanese company Kataoka Corporation, Shoichiro Kataoka. They've partnered with the Coromandel harvesters and are considering a commercial contract for export. Here his words have been interpreted by a translator.
Japanese consumers use a lot of Undaria, but it's only 10% of the wakame consumed in Japan came from Japan within the country. And the rest, the 90% came from China and Korea. And given the high quality of New Zealand Undaria, he believes that there's a huge market potential.
But it's still early days. While the company began exporting to Australia last year, it's still working out its feasibility for the larger Asian market. It's now been given $75,000 through the government's Sustainable Food and Fibre Futures Fund to study whether it is viable and establish New Zealand as a credible source of high-quality seaweed for the Japanese market. Its findings will then be shared with the wider New Zealand seaweed industry, which Agriculture Minister Damien O'Connor hopes will kickstart investment.
This one, if proved to be successful, has huge implications, and we've done it in lots of other areas. We've turned a pest deer into an industry, taken manuka that was cut down on farms for many, many years now into a valuable asset. We take possum fur and turn it into a valuable asset. So once again, if we can do it with a pest like Undaria, then I guess we've got unlimited opportunities.
On board the boat, the seaweed is cut up and blanched in hot, then cold water, where it turns from a muddy brown to a bright green. A plate is passed around. The minister's verdict: no need to add salt.
Nice weed, I get rid of it.
For Checkpoint, Tom Furley.